Hi everyone, it's Tess from teachwithtess.com, and I'm back again today with Jerry, who is going to say hi, Jerry, who's going to be talking to us today about how to apply for companies in the current ESL situation. So we all know that it's a very, very busy market. There are loads of teachers out there looking for work. So we're going to talk a little bit, and especially Jerry, about how to give yourself the best possible chance of getting that job that you're wanting. I thought we'd start off though. Jerry, can you just sort of say hi and give a little bit of background about where you come from, what you do, and why you're here with me today?
Yeah, sure, Tess. Nice to be here. Thank you again for inviting me. Really appreciate it, and happy to help anybody I can. Yeah, I've been teaching for too many years, but teaching online for about 15 years. And recruiting for more years than over 30, I can't remember. And recruiting is really where I started and then moved into teaching and kept that with me along the way. I guess really over the last 15 years, I've just been recruiting for online teachers. That's what I've been doing. And primarily Russia, Japan, Korea and China, and the last 6 years China only, because we all know the market or led us all that way. So and I've been helping lots of people. People might recognize my name from Facebook and other social media, but I'm not really one for being visual. So I've come out.
Very lucky.
I've come out of my cupboard to see you all face to face. And if I can be of any use, then I'm really, really happy to. I really am happy to help.
I know, you're wonderful. Jerry and I have worked closely together at Wales, and Jerry works with lots of different companies, or more companies than me, let's put it that way. But information will be in the description box below. So if you want to get hold of me or have any questions, just post comments and I'll get back to you about it, and Jerry may well be able to step in and help. Anyway, so today, as I said earlier, we're going to specifically talk about how to apply and give yourself the best possible chance. So Jerry is really, really well placed to help you with this because, as she said earlier, she's done a lot of recruiting and she knows exactly what these companies are looking for. So without further ado, what are we going to talk about today, Jerry? What are you going to...
Well, I think we should start with the resume or CV, depending on where you are from in the world. We'll use both terms. And it really depends on, you know, the resume that you've got. You need to look at it. But what you don't want to do is just blanket that out to every school in a panic mode. We talked about panic mode before. Because even though these schools aren't offering very much, they're still going to be quite picky and choosy. So you want to have a nice resume that's easy for them to understand and to some degree is relevant to them. So for instance, Tess, when I'm applying for teaching positions, and I often apply so I can do the interview and find out what the process is like, I have at least 4 or 5 different resumes. So this is why your research comes in. Is this school I'm applying to, is it for children? Is it for adults? What nationality is it for? You know, you don't want your resume saying, for the past 12 years, I've been teaching in China. I know all about Chinese culture. It's not going to help you apply to a job in Russia or Korea or Japan. So look at your resume. You don't need to make major changes, but look at the wording. Where it says kids, if you're applying for adults, be creative. No one's going to check really 100%.
Students. Best words ever invented. I have taught students for the last 12 years. Don't specify the age.
Exactly. So you're going to need to tweak it just a little bit before sending it off. And that would be my key thing, is don't think that one resume, one CV is going to fit everything, because it won't. And it's interesting you say that, because from my experience recruiting for Wales, and for that in particular for Wales, the CVs that I've seen, you know, people often include things that are not relevant to teaching, and they forget because they might have come from a professional background, corporate background, and they list that in a way that it actually detracts from their teaching experience. And I think that's really important too, especially at the moment, because it is so competitive, is ensure that your CV
is 100% relevant for the position and the school that you're going for.
Absolutely.
Because it just gives you an edge, doesn't it?
It
Make
does.
it clear and easy to read.
You might need to jig it round a little bit.
Yeah.
So for instance, if you're applying to a bog standard school, and they're online, then you keep your online teaching first. After your introduction, your online teaching first, then your classroom, then anything else. But there are many schools out there now popping up. We've got My Cool Class, iTalki, OutSchool, Pre-Reply. Now they're going to be more interested in what have you done in bricks and mortar, if you've got anything, or have you written your own materials before, have you done private kids before? So that will come first, and then you're online. So it's like you're selling yourself, thinking about, well, what would this school really be looking for? Because they're not going to read reams and reams. You want 2 pages. One, if you can get it on one, you're laughing. 2 max. 3, they're not going to read it.
No, they're not. And people often forget that, actually. And the other thing that's really important to remember is that unless you're applying to an English-speaking country, and the school is based in an English-speaking country, you're going to be sending these CVs, resumes to non-native speakers. So make sure there are no acronyms, and make sure that the language you use is clear and simple and not complicated, and not too wordy, because as you rightly say, they don't read it, do they? A, they don't have the time, and B, they just go
well, yeah, exactly. Bullet point if you can, and just keep short, sharp, sweet points that'll really sell you. Often it's about class sizes, ages taught, so again, be careful about what you're applying for, and curriculum used. So have you used your own curriculum? Have you written anything yourself? Or are you using the school? You're using both. So that sort of thing will help you sell yourself. So the resume is key, still key. You don't need a cover letter. Don't do cover letters. You need a little intro at the beginning of your resume that will sell you, and that will be ample.
And I remember I always used to tell candidates for Wales about the intro, that it's a pretty good idea to include, if they're specifying certain things, they're looking, maybe the school you're applying for is looking for, you need to have a degree, you need to be a native speaker, you may need to be from a certain country, or you may have to have X amount of experience. If you can get all those key points into that intro, it means that they know immediately that you meet all the key criteria that they look for.
Absolutely.
Which really helps them decide, oh, well, actually, this person at least matches this, so I'll carry on looking and reading a bit more.
Absolutely, Tess. I couldn't agree with you more, because, depending what you're applying for. At the moment, my background is I used to teach IELTS, so I'm trying to find jobs with that. So I've changed. I've got one CV that's just for IELTS, and the first paragraph talks all about that. But for other schools, it won't mean anything. So there's no point in having that as your intro. Absolutely. Good point. Really good point.
No, that's good. Okay, so there we go. That's our first major thing. Get your CV resume absolutely spot on for the school you're applying for. So important. Now, the other thing that one of the other things we're going to talk about is the intro video, isn't it, Jerry? Because you said, talk us through a little bit about what it is, why it's so important.
More and more schools now, again, because they want the process to be done quite quickly, they'll ask you for your resume and a short 1 or 2 minute recording, MP4, of you. And the amount of people who say to me, Jerry, what does that mean? What do I do? What do they want? And they really just want you to be at your desk, professional, headset, look like you're ready for class, and to tell them a little bit about you. And it could just be something as simple as the intro you've used on your resume. So, hi, I'm Jerry, I'm from England, but now I live in Bulgaria. I've been teaching for 15 years. I have a degree I'm fully TEFL qualified. That is what your intro should be if you're going for one of those schools. If your intro is for, as we said just a moment ago, for My Cool Class, iTalki, etc., then your intro might be different. I'm used to preparing my own lessons and my own curriculum. I specialize in, because on those platforms you have to tell them what classes you want to teach. Do you want to do maths? Do you want to do poetry? Do you want to do art? So you have to sell yourself there. So again, the intro video, it's not one size fits all again, but perhaps you don't have to do that many, you know.
No, you don't. And I think your point about, you know, it can almost be your intro. If you've nailed that and you've really got that perfect and it's snappy and easy, perfect. Yes, I think that's a great idea. Use your intro as a base for the video that you make. And from the perspective of somebody who makes videos, make sure your lighting is good.
Yep, your headset's good.
Make sure the sound is bang on.
We talked about the background, and purposely today I've come in plain, because a lot of the companies I've been interviewing with for research want plain backgrounds, because they don't want, I mean, yours is beautiful. It is beautiful.
Mine's quite good.
But you're busy. You're a busy lady, Tess. Yeah.
Yes. I don't just teach online.
But you know, if you want something behind you, then go for it. You've got a lovely map of the world. That's really nice. Something simple and your name.
Yeah, exactly.
And that will be enough.
Yeah.
That will be enough. But some of them, and some of the major ones, when it comes up, it says, make sure that you're on against a white background. So do read what they want before you start recording.
Research.
Research.
Do not be lazy.
Yeah.
Do not be lazy. It will not pay.
No.
It really won't. We're making this video really because we're trying to help as many of you as possible go into whatever format, interview, recorded, automated thing that it may be that you're doing with the best possible chances and feeling as confident as possible. It's really, especially because I think the other reason this is so important to say is that many of us are feeling really quite damaged, bruised. Damaged is not the right word, but bruised, lacking in confidence, maybe terrified. I think we've talked, Jerry, a little bit about this sort of grieving process we're going through, because we're losing students we may have taught for years. We're losing a school that we love, or maybe don't love, but it was our job, you know, and I think lots of us are feeling quite fragile.
We're all feeling very fragile, and you and I talk on a regular basis, and I say, I'm feeling really down today, Tess, and you go, I'm quite up today, and then the next day I speak to you and you're down here, and I go, I'm all right today.
Exactly.
And that's normal, and allow yourself that, you know, allow yourself the ups and downs, because it is, so many people have likened it to losing somebody, you know, like grieving for a real death. And I know it sounds silly, but it isn't. It is that, because these jobs have been our lives for so many years.
It really, it's so true. I think it really is. So I think, you know, that to be able to prepare yourself so you are the most confident you can possibly be is great. It's really important. And I think, you know, we all need this. We all need a bit of a pep talk from time to time to how we can do it.
And that's another thing, you know. You know, you and I have got each other. I've got a couple of other, you know, Kelly Daigle. I work really closely with her on the recruiting side still, and we talk every day. You and I. You need some buddies. You need some buddies, more so than ever right now. And it doesn't mean to say that you have to be doing what they're doing. You and I are doing very different things. Kelly and I are doing very different things. But you need to offload and just chat and relax and make sure that you know you're not the only one out there who's feeling like this.
And it's nice to have people to use as a sounding board as well, isn't it, Jerry? Because for those of us out here, I mean, as I said, lots of people have contacted me saying, oh, I'm thinking about going independent because that's what I'm doing. Oh, I don't know whether to apply for a job. Oh, how do I set up my own business? You know, and everyone has questions. There are lots of people going out there into a world that is a bit of a big unknown for them. And so it can be quite scary. And I think, you know, taking the time to sit back and think of what you want to do is vital. So, you know, this is the time to do your research. Do not go racing into the next possible job. As we've said before, sit down, breathe, think about what you want to do, and then research. Find those schools that you want to do, because we're talking about schools. We're not talking about going independent here. So find those schools that you want to do, you know, you think suit you and work for you, and then do everything you can to ensure that you are just a little bit above everybody else and can be seen and hired. So we've talked about CVs and resumes. We've talked about our intro. What else have we got? Oh, yes, those pre-recorded lessons or something like that.
Quite a few schools that I've interviewed for, part of the process then was, now can you send us a recording of a class? And this class can be one that you have already done, or it can be you pretending to camera, or you have to bring in a child from somewhere, and you're not going to want to do that. Who's going to want to do that?
Oi, come here.
Come in, sit down, do this. So the best thing to do is whatever portal you're on, whichever school you are with, you must be able to download a couple of really good classes. And I would choose one, beginners, intermediate, higher intermediate. So you've got a nice range. So if you do apply to one of these schools and they do want, you've got it already.
Absolutely.
I mean, we always used to say, didn't we? Oh, it's data protection, blah, 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 blah. But I mean.
But I'll tell you what you can do. Now, this is, again, somebody who does YouTube stuff, and I obviously have an editor that I use on my computer. So what I do, because I actually did apply for a school and then decided not to, but I uploaded me teaching a class. But you can use free editors. So you can upload the video that you've got. You can just chop a little bit of it, because if you've downloaded a whole class, you're not going to send a whole class. But you can also just cover the children's faces, and then that double, it sort of really protects you. And I think that's not a bad idea. And I think you can use iMovie if you're on, which is a free version on Apple, or there are several if you are using a Windows computer that you can just use the free version.
But that's my advice would be to get them down onto your computer now before whichever school you're in goes. They're going overnight at the moment, aren't they?
They are, aren't they? They are going
so get that downloaded, so you've got some good evidence of you giving a really good class. And then, again, it takes the stress away. You can just edit it down, send them a clip, usually 10 minutes, and then that bit's done.
Absolutely. And in case, if you're sitting there going, oh, but I can't download a class. Now, the other way around this is screen recording. And there is, again, I'm not going to go into detail here, but you can go off and research, but you can find some fairly simple software that screen records. So you play that class and you record your screen as you're playing it. So it's another way of grabbing that in case you can't download it.
Yeah, good idea.
I've done that before.
Good idea.
So those are important. So what do you think? What are the sort of, again, I suppose I'm just thinking about the type of classes, because we've talked about the levels, try and get a variety of levels. But what do you think would, I know this sounds like a crazy question, but what do you think would be a good lesson for some people who are going, oh, but I got all these lessons I've taught?
The majority of ones I've had have been 7 to 8 year olds with basic learning skills. So I guess, in Wales, we'd probably call that pre-EK, GKA, that sort of thing.
Yeah, GKA, pre-K.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know for other schools, but again, this is where you want to do your research. What school am I applying for? What ages? What have they asked me for? There's no point in sending. But I'd go for a mid-range. If you're going to find it a nightmare, don't go for beginners. Don't go for advanced. Go for one slap bang in the middle. It covers everything.
Where you demonstrate the skills that you need for online teaching. I think that's really key, isn't it, Jerry? So you see that, it's quite funny. I was looking at some of my videos, my recordings, and where I had an absolute hoot in the class with some great kids. And I looked at it again, I watched it again, and I thought, we had great fun, but we know each other. I know how they're learning and I know what they need. But somebody who doesn't know, there's probably too much laughter involved.
Yeah, exactly.
So I didn't use that one. But
I've been using one where the kids really struggled.
Yeah.
So you have to show all the different things that you would do. So obviously you start with your directional TPR, you try, and then you get, I haven't got my props with me, but then you might get your whiteboard out and write the word out for them and break it down into syllables or then clap it through. So you want one where you're working your heart out to try and get the kid to say, and then when they say it, yay, you know, I can do my job.
Enthusiasm, exactly.
I can do my job. See, I can do it.
Now, something else that people might be wondering about as far as these lessons are concerned. So I was just thinking, we've been talking about differentiating what we send CV, resume, video wise. But for your class, you know, if somebody's listening going, but hold on a minute, I've been teaching students, kids, and I'm applying to teach adults. What do I do? So I would assume, I personally take the highest level that I teach, which has the least TPR, but can maybe show you how you would interact with an older student. I don't know what you think about that.
I must admit, out of the schools that I've applied to for the older kids, they haven't asked for the video.
Right. Okay.
I've taken one just in case, one of my better ones, but I haven't been asked yet. No. So it's perhaps slightly different for
that's interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Or adults, they don't ask for a video of you.
No, I haven't been asked yet, but I said I haven't interviewed for every single school out there, but there are still companies. I know, come on, get going. There are still schools out there who want to interview you. You know, I'm recruiting and hopefully moving people through with a couple of schools right now who are still recruiting.
Are we allowed to say their name or not? You don't want to?
I don't know, because by the time this goes out, Tess, they're probably not recruiting. But these people are going through proper interviews. So they've done their 1-2 minute intro, they've had their resume screened, and then the school wants to see them do a 10-15 minute demo with them. So those schools are still there. But to be honest, it's the ones that are still based in China. So they're still very China based. The ones who say they've got 6 to 12 months to go. The Korean, Japanese, no, I haven't seen that yet. So
well, because the question you've just named various countries where there aren't interviews. I know I've had teachers contact me about schools where they could work either in Europe or maybe South America, and I don't know if you're aware of any schools that are popping up there, if they've been.
Again, it's the research. What it seems to be to me, Tess, is that you can still have schools that are in China, but they can't be teaching Chinese students.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've been contacted by a couple of schools. I haven't checked them out yet. I'm not recommending them because I don't want to recommend something that I don't trust.
Yeah.
They've said to me, we are going to continue. Our students are not going to be Chinese.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you hear of that, that could be an option. Somebody said to me just before we started, they said, Jerry, which school, which is safe? Where do I go? What do I do? And I said, it's the $1 million question, and I don't have the answer. It's potluck at the moment.
It is potluck.
It's potluck.
And I suppose the other thing is, you know, for people to apply to, obviously, I think this goes without saying, really, to apply to several schools.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely. Even more than before. Lots of people swore by working, you know, everyone knows that for a long time I only worked for Wales, and it worked perfectly for me. I was fully booked, did the hours I wanted to do, then started Magic Ears, and actually haven't taught a huge amount with them because I haven't needed to.
Yeah.
And now that's not the way forward.
No, it's not.
If I was going and staying in schools, I would be applying for lots.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I am, because I'm trying to go through the interview process to see what it's like. I won't take these jobs if I get them offered, because I don't want them, most of them. But moving forward, when I do make my selection, I'm going to have 2 or 3. Yeah, because that's the way it's going to be now. You know, you've got to, you can't just have that, oh, I'll be safe with this school. We've had that for too long. And I said to my husband about 2 years ago, I really need to do something about moving my eggs and my baskets. So I didn't even heed my own advice, you know. So I deserve it, you know, to some degree. And none of us deserve it, but it's just the way it is. It's the way it is for all of us. It's no different. It's no different.
It is no different. So there we go, folks. So if you're listening to this still, thank you for staying with us. I would really love to hear from you. If you've got other questions for Jerry, because I can probably twist her arm and bring her back again. But if you have questions for Jerry or for myself about anything we've talked about, you know, Jerry, as you've heard, is quite hesitant to name schools in this video because this is going to be on my channel, and if you're watching this, you know, later down the line, the schools mentioned would be irrelevant because they're not hiring. However, when it comes up, and if you want, and if you're curious about the schools, I can reach out to Jerry and say, are they as of today hiring, and potentially get back to you. That might be the way forward. But please use the comments just to ask questions, on my email, which you probably can't read because it's too far away, but tess@brightsparksenglish.com, and I'd be happy to help you in any way I can. So thanks again for joining us today, everyone. And I wish you all, I think both of us wish you all the best.
Everybody,
with your applications.
Good luck. It's not easy,
but
you're not alone. We're all in the same thing.
We're all in this together. We really are. Okay, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Tess.